Hello and welcome to the Opposition View with Chat with Chaps. Chris has kindly given me the keys again and asked me to give a preview for this weekend's game at home to Sunderland. And of course, if you don't know who I am, you can find me on TikTok. My TikTok is just down there to the bottom. Where is it? Down, you know where it is, the bottom left-hand side. So the international break is, of course, over. An international break which probably came at the wrong time for Millwall after our recent run of results. However, maybe the right time to hopefully bring back some players back to full fitness. As we know, this weekend we are back at the Den as we welcome joint league leaders Sunderland. And joining me to preview this weekend's game is Paddy from the Roco Report. How are we, Paddy? UK?
Yeah, all good, mate. Thanks, all good. But
Thank you
please
for
the
coming
break's over because, it seems like we've just had so many of these international breaks, like three already, and it's not even the end of November.
on. I know. I mean, I know. Finally, I actually went to the England game at Wembley against Ireland,
Mm,
and it was good. It was good crack, but it's not quite club football in terms of the atmosphere and everything which goes around it. So certainly happy
yeah.
that club football and Championship football is back this weekend. So Sunderland. Let's talk. Joint top of the Championship, of course. A very impressive start this season. Only one league defeat all season. How would you sort of summarise the first few months of the campaign so far?
I mean, to be honest, it's been better than any Sunderland fan could have expected, really. In the summer, we kind of didn't really know what to expect because we went a while, before we appointed a new permanent manager, and then it felt like we weren't really making too many moves in the window. So, to be honest, it's sort of taken us by surprise, but I think we've had some luck along the way, but every team who is in the top six tends to get a bit of luck every now and again. We've had things go against us. We've had the rub of the green in some games. So, all in all, I mean, it's been fantastic. To be
Yeah.
honest, I mean, to be joint top, sort of heading towards the back end of November is just it's brilliant and fully deserved, which is it's quite nice to see.
Yeah. Well, according to Transfer Market, I've done my research, don't worry. According to Transfer Market, Sunderland have an average age of 23.7 or 23.7 years old. So is it a factor of if you're old enough, you're good enough? I mean, if I can just point out some players, Chris Rigg, Joe Bellingham, Romain Mundle, is it just a factor of if they're old enough, they're good enough, and that's the reason why Sunderland sit so high up the table?
I think it is, yeah. I think there's a lot of trust put into young players at Sunderland, and we've kind of done that over the last couple of years now. And there was a bit of an issue last season where I think we probably needed just a bit more experience in the squad. With kind of in the summer we went out and we brought in a bit of experience, albeit just to be kind of players around the squad. But yeah, I mean, Chris Rigg. I mean, you mentioned Rigg and Bellingham, two players who they don't look like they're Rigg's 17 and Jobs just turned 19. They look years older than that because they just look so confident when they play. And I think it's a case of exactly how what you said there. I think it's a case of if you are good enough, you'll play, and they've been huge parts of our success so far this season. And yeah, it's been fully deserved really, and it's good to be able to bring through these players from such a young age, and they just seem to they've just taken to things so well, and it's been really good to see.
Hmm. And say we'll touch on Bellingham as well. Obviously, most football fans or Millwall fans will recognise the surname Bellingham, of course, with Jude, who's ripping things up at Real Madrid and England, of course. But Joe Bellingham's on his own pathway. I saw he was linked to Borussia Dortmund earlier this week. And say he's obviously suspended for the game, which I think is
Mm.
important to notice. He's currently serving his last of his 3-game ban, I believe, after he was sent off
Yeah,
against QPR. So Sunderland will be missing Bellingham, who are yet to actually win a game when he hasn't started, as well as Tri Hume and Patrick Roberts. Will they be big misses? Would you say come Saturday?
I think Job will be. I think results our last couple of games have shown that we've really missed Job in midfield. We do have other good midfield players, but we don't have any like Job who can just kind of control the play, and a lot of things go through him. And we do. I don't like to think we're too reliant on him, but I think we kind of are probably more than I'd like, to be honest. So he'll be a big miss. Roberts is a bit of a frustrating one. He's the sort of player where he's a good flair player, but his end product doesn't reflect how much he has the ball. He's had last season he did struggle. I think he got sort of 1 assist all season or something. It's slightly better this season, but yeah, I think out of the 3, he's probably the one who would possibly miss the least, just because of we do have the options there to kind of come in. I think in terms of the reshuffle, what we're going to have to do, it won't be the hardest for him to do. I think Hume, I think we will miss. I think we've got an idea of how we might set up on Saturday. But Hume's he's our starting right back. He's played pretty much. I mean, he's barely missed a game since we got promoted back to the Championship. He's been the first choice right back for the last few managers now, so he will be a miss. But yeah, I think out of the 3, I think Job's going to be the biggest miss, and I think we've seen that in our last 2 games when we have been without him. So yeah, I'm just thankful that I wish we had him this weekend, but we play Tuesday then Friday, and we'll have him back for that. So yeah, he'll be a miss though. He'll be a big miss in that midfield for us.
So talk to us about Chris Rigg. He's obviously extremely young, but extremely talented. He can sort of play off. Is he sort of off the wing as a number 10? Talk to us about sort of Chris Rigg and his development this season, especially because he's certainly an extremely talented player for his age.
Yeah, I mean he's fantastic. I mean it took him a few games to get his first start, but I mean since then he's one of the players where we love having him in the team. Like he kind of plays as one of the midfield 3. Our strongest sort of midfield 3 at one point was Rigg, Job, and our captain Dan Neil. Obviously that's been disrupted a bit in recent weeks, but I mean Rigg's he's a phenomenal player and he is going to go at the top. It's the same as Job. I mean they're getting linked with big European clubs, and rightly so, to be honest, because we've managed to develop some really good footballers. But Riggs a player, yeah, I mean he's got the confidence and the ability and pretty much everything what you want in a top class attacking footballer, really. And from my point of view, it's a case of we kind of just have to enjoy him whilst we can, because I do think maybe if we get promoted, we might hang on to him a bit longer. But I think if we were to be in the Championship next season, I think Rigg and Job will be 2 players who'd be away to someone far more successful, I think, unfortunately. But yeah, he's a brilliant player, and I'm pleased that he's one of the players we will have available on Saturday, because he makes things happen and he's really good to watch.
Yeah, well, it's funny when we talk about sort of the young talent in your squad who have got very bright futures, where Millwall have their own as well in Romain Esse, who come through the club's academy and actually plays in the same age group as Joe Bellingham internationally for England, of course, and he's one where we're sort of just enjoying him whilst we can. It's basically just before one of the big boys in the Premiership come and snap him up for a substantial amount of money, we should say. But moving on, we'll talk about your manager appointed in the summer. I'm not going to bother pronouncing his name, so I'm going to ask you to do that for me. But when he was appointed in the summer to now, how's it going for him? What would you just describe his style of football, which he's brought to the Stadium of Light?
I mean, he came. No one really knew about him, to be honest. I mean, I think some people said, "Oh yeah, I've followed him in France," but I don't know how true that was, because I'd not heard of him at all, to be honest. We got linked with him, then it seemed to kind of the wheels kind of moved quite quickly, and all of a sudden he was appointed. But no, he's got a really good attitude, because he's not overly emotional. He's quite strategic.
Cool, calm, and collective. Is that?
He is. He is, yeah, and I think that's I always think that's good for a manager. I think if you've got someone who's going to keep their head on the touchline, no matter how the game's going, it's going to be a success. But with Regis Labrie, as his, I'll get his name in.
That's the one. That's the one.
To be honest, I might have said it wrong, but I'll give it a go. But his style of football is he likes to get us on a high press. At the start of the season, I think we won our first 4 games off the bounce, including a win against Burnley. And I know it was a bit of a Burnley were in a bit of a state when we came to play them, but obviously it was the first game we didn't have Jack Clark, so we were like, oh, we don't really know what to expect here. But we went and beat Burnley, and tactically it was brilliant. We beat a still pretty good Burnley team relatively comfortably. So he likes to have us on the high press. He's pretty set on how he wants us to set up. He likes having a striker and a couple of the wide players kind of playing off them, and he likes his midfield 3. So even when we've had injuries and suspensions, he's kept that 3 as much as possible, really. So I don't think that'll change on Saturday. I can't see us making too many changes, to be honest, in terms of tactics. But no, I mean, he's brought a really enjoyable style of football. I mean, we're unbeaten in 8 at the minute. The last couple of games have been a bit of a drop off, but we know full well that happens in the Championship. It's such a long season. You're going to get teams are going to ebb and flow. And I mean, we've had a bit of a dip and we're still unbeaten. So I think that's kind of you can tell that as a positive, really. But no, he gets us playing good football. We're pretty solid at the back. We're fast when we do break. And yeah, he likes having a striker there who puts in the high press. And luckily, we have a couple of options there now. Whereas last season we were sort of sorely lacking in that position. So yeah, really fun, really enjoyable, and yeah, we're just not getting carried away and just kind of enjoying it for as long as we can, really.
Yeah. Let's talk Romain Mundle. I hope I've pronounced his name right, but he is Sunderland's top goal scorer this season with 6 goals and an assist in this campaign this season. Would you point him out as the ones to watch this Saturday?
Well, we actually think he might be out injured, unfortunately. He went off injured against Coventry, and we don't actually know what state the injury is. But he did sort of hobble off, so it didn't look great. So unfortunately, I think he might be missing for a bit longer than Saturday's game, but we don't know, to be honest. We'll not know until our manager kind of gives an update, really. But no, I mean, so far this season, he's been fantastic. When Clark left, there was kind of a panic on, and a lot of our fans were going, "Oh, we need to replace Clark." And then our manager kind of came out and said, "We don't. We have another left winger at the club who's kind of been patient and he's been working behind the scenes to get his chance." And Mundle stepped up and he's been fantastic. I mean, to be honest, as an all-round player, I think he has more than Clark did for us. He's one of these where he gets in at the fullback and he'll cut inside or he'll go down the touchline, and yeah, he's a brilliant all-round player. And it's annoying saying all this, knowing that he is probably going to be missing for Saturday. So yeah, I think he'll be a tough player to replace, I think. But we're going to really see how our squad tested. I think obviously with we'll have 3 players back from suspension for the game after Millwall, but this weekend with the suspensions and the injuries, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how we line up, because there's going to be a lot of players unavailable, unfortunately.
Yeah. In terms of an area of weakness, where in the team do you reckon we could get at on Saturday? Would it be centre back, full back, left wing, right wing? Where's your area of weakness or concern?
To be honest, if the defence is going to set up in the way that we think it is, with Luke O'Nien moving to right back, possibly there. It's nothing on O'Nien. It's just that he's been our first choice centre back for a couple of years now, and he's kind of going to be moved out there out of necessity, really, because although we have quite good depth across the pitch, full-backs are the position where we are quite light. On the left-hand side, Dennis Erkin's been fantastic this season. But on the right-hand side, yeah, I think it'll be O'Nien moving to right back. And to be honest, I'd probably say there, purely on the fact that I can't really see him sort of pushing forward too much to help out the winger, because he's not that sort of defender, really. So I think he's going to probably sit quite deep maybe as a 3 with the other 2 centre halves, and then have have Serkin pushing forward as kind of the more of like the wing back option. But yeah, if I had to pick somewhere, it will be probably down that right hand side. Also because we won't have Roberts in front of him, and we don't really know who's going to be on the right hand side in front of 09. So yeah, I'd probably say that's going to be the weak point. I think thinking just sort of hypothetically what the team might be, it would be probably down that right hand side.
Okay, good stuff. So in our let's look at our previous meetings. So Millwall have only won once against Sunderland in our last 6 meetings, and that was away last season towards the back end of the campaign where Duncan Watmore scored in a 1-0 win. That has been our only win in our last 6 meetings, with 4 out of the last 6 being draws. On that note, what's your sort of point of view on Millwall? Certainly this season, obviously we're on a really good run right now. We're unbeaten in our last 7. The international break maybe came at the wrong time for us. Keeping plenty of clean sheets, maybe not scoring as much as we would have liked, but we went on a run of 4 1-0 wins in a row before the last game away at Stoke. So what's your sort of point of view on Millwall this season?
A team who's very hard to beat. I mean, obviously, I think that goes without saying. Obviously, where you guys are in the table, and looking at your results, there, you're right. There aren't many goals in, from either team when Millwall play. But yeah, just as a team who, I get the impression that you've kind of gone back to making the Den a proper fortress, and I think it's a sort of ground where, in previous seasons, we might have struggled. I think we were a bit worried about going to Luton purely because Luton's a sort of ground where, it can be quite an intimidating atmosphere. And I've always kind of got that with Millwall. But yeah, overall, I'd say just a team who work hard, hard to break down. The amount of clean sheets you've kept is evidence of that. And yeah, just a team who were, particularly at home, are just really hard to break down. I think beating Leeds and Burnley in your last 2 home games, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, that just, that's evidence enough there that you're a good team, especially at home, and hard to break down. And I think if I'd be a lot more confident if we didn't have sort of 5 or 6 players unavailable. But no, I think it's be a good test. I think, as you said, the international break can sort of be a help and a hindrance, really. I know we've had sort of a mixed bag of things after an international break. So yeah, I think it's going to be, it'll be a tough test. But no, I think it's going to be a good game. I think it'll be pretty competitive, and I can't see there being much in it, to be honest.
Yeah, I for one will certainly be looking forward to Saturday. Say our last 2 home games have been against Burnley and Leeds, are obviously fighting towards the top end of the division, and we beat both of them 1-0 at the Den. Fantastic atmosphere, and I'm sure on Saturday it'll be no different. Sunderland, I think, have sold out their allocation. I think we've got both tiers, the top and bottom tier, on Saturday, which means it'll be a great atmosphere. Of course, Sunderland joint top of the league. We're on a really good run, so certainly looking forward to it. What is your score predictions, Paddy? Just to finish off, what is your score predictions? And I'll give mine.
To be honest, I know it's annoying because we're on a 3-game sort of draw streak at the minute. But I'm going to go for another draw. I think it'll be probably one of the better. Well, it'll be the better out of the 4 draws, to be honest. But I'm going to go 1-1, and that's not just because I think the last 2 times we've come down to your place, it's been 1-1. But yeah, I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. I think I'll be pretty happy with that, to be honest, to keep the unbeaten run going. And I think not many teams will take points at the Den this season, so I'll be pretty happy with the points, in all fairness, especially with sort of the injuries and suspension list we've got. So yeah, I'll go 1-1, I think, on Saturday.
No, you're absolutely right. Say the Den is turning into a fortress again this season. Neil Harris has got us playing some good stuff at times, and say we're a really, really tough side to beat, especially at home. I would say definitely take a draw, almost definitely take a draw. However, I'm going to remain the optimistic, and I'm going to say a 1-0 Millwall win. Say our last 2 home games against teams at the top of the division have both finished 1-0. Like you mentioned, Sunderland are missing key players in key positions, and say the atmosphere will be great. Sunderland, predominantly a very young side, which hasn't affected them this season, but when it comes down to the Den, we've seen players and we've seen teams really go into their shell. And I'm not saying that might happen Saturday, but I'm hoping we can come out on top with a 1-0 win, and I'm going to go with George Honeyman to get the goal. I said eventually he scored one already this season, and I'm going to keep predicting to score another one. And of course, Sunderland being his former side, of course, where he was loved very dearly. Captain, of course, formerly at Sunderland. I'm going to go with a George Honeyman 1-0 win. Paddy, thank you for joining me. You've been absolutely fantastic. And say, do you want to just quickly plug what your sort of company or your podcast is?
Yeah, so I'm one of the writers at Roker Report. We have a podcast, and we have a big writing team as well. We have our website has all sorts of articles on there about Sunderland Football Club, post match opinions, features, all sorts really. So yeah, we're rokerreport.com. We're probably, I think we might be the sort of the biggest and sort of most widely read Sunderland fanzine. And yeah, I'm one of the writers on there, and I've loved it for a few years now. So yeah, that's where you can go for all your Sunderland content if you if you're on the lookout for more.
Yeah, certainly. So any Millwall fans looking out for any more content regarding this Saturday's fixture before or after the game, make sure you go check out the Roker Report on the internet, on Google, and save. Other than that, thank you for joining me. Thank you for listening. Of course, if you haven't already, make sure you check out my TikTok. It is at george.c9. We're doing very well with it so far. And of course, massive shout out to Chris as well, who will edit this video, I'm sure, for letting me come on again and doing these opposition views. Other than that, I will see everyone Saturday. Thank you and take care.